Formula One is back in Hungary this weekend, which means it's time for your Don't Crash course. Everything you need to know about the track itself, major storylines, and a little bit of history coming into this track. This track is a purpose-built track, and construction on the track started in 1985, and the very first Formula One Grand Prix took place in 1986. This track has 14 turns and 2 DRS zones. The DRS zones are on the final straight between turns 14 and turn 1, as well as a second DRS zone between turn 1 and turn 2. The DRS detection point, where you have to be within 1 second of the driver ahead of you in order to utilize DRS in those zones, is just before turn 14. With this track having a number of turns strung together as well as a lack of straights, we usually see cars come with a setup that mimics the Monaco level of downforce. The circuit length is 4.381 kilometers, and we run this track for 70 laps. That means that the full length of the Grand Prix is 306.63 kilometers. The record for the fastest lap is currently held by Lewis Hamilton. He set that record in 2020, and it is a 1:16.627. He holds the record for the most number of pole positions at this track, which is 9, and he also holds the record for the most number of wins at this track, which is 8. However, one thing to keep in mind when we're looking at who ends up taking pole position at this track this weekend, of the last 5 pole sitters, only one of them has actually converted that into a win. That was in 2020 when Lewis Hamilton took pole and also won the race. Otherwise, the last 4 pole sitters have not ended up winning the race on Sunday. Last year's winner here was Oscar Piastri, and of course it was his first win. That win also took place with one of the most controversial moments of last season, where we saw a bit of a teammate battle over the radio when they were asked to swap positions. But the championship standings this year are quite different. Last year, Lando Norris was fighting for a win against Max Verstappen, and this year, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are fighting against each other for that coveted driver's title. And Oscar is not the only driver on the current grid who had his first win here in Hungary. Esteban Ocon also had his first win here in 2021, and Fernando Alonso took his first win here in 2003. Last year, this race had 65 overtakes, and we have a 25% probability of a safety car, as well as a 25% probability of a virtual safety car. After our first practice sessions today, there are a couple of things to look out for. Number 1, Fernando Alonso is experiencing back pain, which required him to sit out of free practice 1. However, we did see him back in the car for free practice 2, and hopefully this pain should not be a limiter for him to participate in the rest of the weekend. Additionally, we have seen a lot of gravel sprayed onto the track, and that's something to keep an eye out for when it comes to the race itself. And so far, just out of 2 practice sessions, the best setups and speeds seem to be McLaren, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. The Aston Martins, interestingly enough, put in a strong performance in free practice 2, splitting those 2 Ferraris. And of course, as has been the name of the game, both McLarens were at the top for both free practice sessions. Additionally, one other big note is that the Red Bull currently seems to be struggling. Max Verstappen actually finished his session behind his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. So as always, now is the time to share your podium predictions in the comments, ask any questions that you have about the circuit, and be sure to tune in to the next video where I will be going through the tire strategy and what Pirelli has provided for the weekend.